I wrote this after having a conversation with my daughter about the realities of the world. Daddy, Daddy, the Tooth Fairy gave me $5, Daddy. Daddy, Daddy, can I take a picture with Santa Claus, Daddy? Daddy, Daddy, there's a monster in the dark, Daddy. Tell me more about Black history, Daddy. You see, I promised my baby girl that I would never tell her no lies, no disguises. Never will I pull the wool over her eyes, no surprises. Straight up, brutal, honest truth, please be advised that life isn't always merry and not filled with cherry pies. So, at my parental discretion, I proceeded to answer her questions, giving her lessons were blessings that she needed and heeded way before her adolescence, a little girl. You will learn through your experiences and the moments that you feel. Through life's myths and mysteriousness, there are things that will appear but are not real. For in America, they will feed you such edible words, fairy tales from here to heaven, all kinds of credible absurds that will turn such myths to legend, and if you're not meticulous, you'll be believing in such ridiculous things, like apes who can talk, and fish who can walk, and ponies that fly without wings. Ponies that fly without wings, Daddy? Seriously? So silly be that anomaly, baby, but Daddy's not trying to be funny. And since we're here, the Tooth Fairy is mommy, baby. We don't trade cash for teeth, honey. But due to this economy, baby, make sure you hold on to that money. And I'ma tell you this calmly, baby. There isn't an Easter bunny. If you would have seen the look on her face, the horror, the surprise, but I promised my baby girl that I would never tell her no lies. So with extreme trepidation, hesitation, and pause, I answered her question when she asked, but what about Santa Claus? Baby, are we to believe in a white-bearded, big-bellied man named Santa? Who traveled to 1 billion homes around the world in one night? I mean, could he even make it to Atlanta? We must be prepared to say this story is engineered. I mean, honey, have we ever seen a flying reindeer? Without wings, Daddy. Yes, baby, without wings. And after all that was said and done that night, I was quite confident she got the gist. But that night she screamed she saw monsters in the dark, as if there were gorillas in the mist. I thought since we spoke of what was not real, she would have added monsters to the list. No need to be afraid of the dark, my love. Monsters don't exist. And she felt safe. And life goes on with more questions for her to ask and more lessons for her to learn, more concepts for her to grasp and more trust for me to earn. So we moved on from fairy tales, imaginative beings of mystery, moved on to what was real, and in school they were talking about Black history. Excited was my flow, for at her age I didn't know that they taught this. So I told her about the 4 M's of Black history: Medgar, Malcolm, Martin, and Marcus. I continued on with Fannie Lou Hamer, Shirley Chisholm, and great old Harriet T, for she needed to know the greatness of Black women that she will future be. I continued on with Maya Angelou, and let me tell you, she was fascinated. Then came the hard questions. Daddy, how come Medgar, Malcolm, and Martin was assassinated? She knows what assassinated means. There comes a time a child's mentality no longer thrives on being cute. They come face to face with an undoubted fallacy, for they cannot find the proof. No more fairy tales, false fantasies, threaded within our youth, for there is a harsh reality that's embedded within the truth. You see, how do I tell my baby girl that sometimes there are more guns than roses? How do I tell her about evil forces with burning crosses and water hoses? I want to tell her about her ancestors that refused to kneel on stubborn knees, but how do I tell her of roots and strange fruit that hung from southern trees? It is the evil. It is the evil that men do that really has me pissed, because now I have to tell my baby girl that yes, monsters do exist. How do I tell her? How do I tell her that they exist more than just in the corners of our minds, based on society's fears, and they vary within the times? How do I tell her that they exist, not in fairy tales, but in the realness of the night, within a socio-political construct that peaks at racial anger's plight? They exist as an abomination, through the echoes of eternity, through the smuggling of slaves, through a swastika Germany. They exist within places where racism stays systemic still, in the broken noses of Kemet to the broken bones of Emmett Till. They exist in present day. On the southern night you may see the most, under the sheets of the KKK. Some say they look like ghosts. Honey, forget about flying ponies, reindeers, or even unicorns. There could be a monster out that door with a badge, a gun, and a blue uniform. And those monsters monsters exist in a world where conspicuous has to be me. Where stop and frisk, we got sick of this like syphilis and Tuskegee. Those monsters, those creations, when at night you see their dark side, they reek of segregation, for they dwell in the bowels of apartheid. Our grandparents used to make us nervous as they warned us through urges. Don't go out late at night, for the monster's head emerges. Stay inside, run and hide, for your life you cannot purchase. This is the place where brothers die when white women clutch their purses. I am a lion, and in the land of the eagle they conduct illegal searches. No telling where, no telling how the monster's head emerges. How do I tell my of-age daughter beware of where the monster surges? Don't wear a hoodie in Sanford, Florida, or dwell in South Carolina churches. Don't drive a car in Wheeler County, Texas, for what they do to women of color you wouldn't believe. And if you see a monster in Staten Island, you may not be able to breathe. How do I tell her all of this in a land that's supposed to be more stable, where monsters are supposed to be trapped within fairy tales and fables, ambitiously fictitious like Anne of Green Gables, not spoken of in newspapers or under their tables? How do we tell our sons and daughters it must take some kind of art? How do we explain the insane without tearing their world apart? Well, I looked my daughter straight in the eye, and I told her straight from the heart, yes, my love, monsters do exist, but they're the ones afraid of the dark.